Well, a new face here at the Monitor, UGA Extension Agent Paul Pugliese.
Yeah, Ray, Paul recently came on board as the show's gardening guru. Today, he tackles the always popular task of plant pruning.
Hi, I'm Paul Pugliese with the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension. Today we're going to talk a little bit about pruning hydrangeas. I get a lot of questions about pruning hydrangeas because it's kind of confusing sometimes as to when is the best time to prune and how do you still get flowers out of those plants if you prune at the proper time. So the first question you really should be asking is why prune at all? There's a lot of different hydrangea varieties on the market today that you can put them in a space that you never really have to prune them. This is a good example of a big leaf hydrangea that's planted in front of somebody's porch. This is about as big as they get, and if it's got enough space to grow, you really shouldn't have to prune them a whole lot. People that actually want to prune a lot of times are trying to keep a cat in a bag. You know, it's not maybe a big enough space to be able to grow that plant. So maybe it's not the best plant for that particular situation. So a lot of people are familiar with the big leaf hydrangea varieties, and these are varieties that have these big, beautiful blooms. They can come in pinks and whites, reds and blues. And these are the ones that usually bloom in late spring through early summer. So these bloom on actually old wood that was set with flower buds the previous year. Another common type of hydrangea is the oak leaf. The oak leaf hydrangea is another one that actually blooms on old wood in early spring and late summer. And so this is one that you don't want to prune, just like the big leaf hydrangea varieties. You don't want to prune these until after they bloom. The third type of hydrangea I don't have with me today is a type that's called the smooth hydrangea or the panicle type of hydrangeas. And those types of hydrangeas actually bloom in the late summer into the fall. And those you don't want to prune after they bloom in the summer because you'll cut off those flower buds. The best time to prune those is actually in the winter time. Now I will mention that these all get different sizes. The big leaf hydrangeas like this one only get about 3 to 5 feet tall at most. The oak leaf hydrangeas can get 6 to 8 feet tall, so make sure you got a space big enough for an oak leaf hydrangea if you're going to grow one of those in the shade. And then the panicle types of hydrangeas, some of the popular varieties like the limelight variety and the PG variety, can get anywhere from 15 to 20 feet tall. So that's a big hydrangea that you got to have space for. And again, you can prune those in the wintertime if you need to, and they'll still flower, okay? So this is a good example of a hydrangea that's coming out of dormancy right now. And so this is a question that we get. Well, what should I prune and how much? Well, generally speaking, this time of year, again, you don't want to cut off those flower buds that are starting to form. So you want to only take off the dead stuff. So go in here and just pull off these old dead blooms. And this is a great time to look and see where's the new growth coming out. If you don't see any new growth all the way back to this point, that's where you want to cut the dead stuff off, okay? So make sure you're only cutting the dead stuff and it will still be able to set those blooms. So it's really just a matter of getting in here and cleaning up the plant. And again, all you're doing is cutting out the dead stuff. You're not doing any hard pruning on this plant. And hopefully it'll continue to bloom normally later this spring and into the summer. Now, if you did need to take it back a lot harder and make it smaller as an overall plant, again, the best time to do that is immediately after it flowers. And generally you want to do that type of really hard pruning before August 1st, so that it'll still be able to set buds that'll bloom on time next year. One problem that we commonly see with hydrangeas is some people say, well, it didn't bloom at all this year and I didn't prune it, okay? I did what I was supposed to be doing. So in those situations, it may be that we had a really hard winter. In North Georgia, a couple years ago, we had a really, really hard winter where we got down into some single-digit temperatures. Those temperatures were actually cold enough to actually damage the buds and the canes that had already set flower buds the previous year. So in those cases, we call that winter pruning. And that plant's going to have to grow back from the root system, and it will, but it won't have enough growth to be able to produce flower buds the next year. One other thing that I would mention as far as maintaining hydrangeas is, well, how should I fertilize them? If you want to increase the blooms, we recommend a balanced fertilizer like an 8-8-8 or a 10-10-10 fertilizer. And you can actually put as much as a pint of fertilizer, which is basically half of this cup right here. A pint is all you need to fertilize about 100 square feet in your landscape. So a 10 by 10 area, that's how much fertilizer you need to fertilize these types of hydrangeas. And again, you might want to space that out, do an application in March, another one in May and July. Again, spring and early summer are the times that you really want to focus on building those flower buds and those blooms for next year as well. And the last tip I would give you is how to water these. Hydrangeas require a lot of water. And so when you water these, it's important that you water them early in the morning. And the reason why is they're very susceptible to leaf spot diseases called Cercospora and powdery mildew. And if you water them late in the day, those leaves will stay wet way too long, and they'll actually get disease if they stay wet all night long. So again, the best time to water these is early in the morning so those leaves will dry out more quickly. You can avoid a lot of disease problems with these plants. So for more information, contact your local county extension office or go to our website at ugaextension.org, or be sure to follow us on the Georgia Farm Monitor.